Good morning. We're rolling in here on this Monday morning. Apologize. I had an advertising meeting this morning at bright and early. Got to give a shout out to Mark Schuning, man. Mark with a home run here today, Nathan. And what a great meeting. What a great meeting. Super excited about it. We'll talk hopefully about it down the road, but super, super excited about that meeting. It is Monday, though. It's Inside the Game. It's with your two favorite hosts, Jonathan Turner, Mr. Nathan Wangler. And again, excited to have you wherever you're watching near and far. We were not here on Friday. This weekend was rough. This was one of the weekends, Nathan, that it reminded me of my first broadcast back in May of 2022. If there was like music I could play that was like this little like kind of poetic, maybe like dramatic music that could kind of set the tone of like, like I'm like a lonely man walking down the beach by myself, kind of like, like that, that's what I felt like. Now, granted, I was not by myself this weekend, but I mean, Nathan, you came into town here on Saturday. On Friday, we had three Oakland University broadcasts outdoors. Our first outdoor games at the baseball level and softball level at Oakland as part of our new agreement. It was the quote unquote terrible. It was terrible. I mean, and again, there are many reasons why. I call it the perfect storm, is what I call it. And that's exactly what it was. We had the game was so originally on Friday it was supposed to be one game, and then due to weather problems, possibly on Saturday, they opted to move the games up to Friday. So Friday was supposed to be in original plans, was supposed to be a day in which we were, even though we had one baseball game, we were going to use it as the test for the rest of the weekend, right? Get everything worked out during the baseball game. It gave us a chance to take a breath and kind of, and that didn't happen. So we got thrown kind of into this double, triple header, whatever you want to call it. And so softball, we had some of our issues at softball. But baseball, man, what a poor baseball. Got the raw end of the stick. We lost cameras in the middle of the game, start of the game.
Right.
Then they went away. Our camera behind home plate was brand new camera operator, had no idea what to do. Neil Rule, man, in our studio here on Friday is just like I can see him every 5 seconds going like this, like his hands up in the air. He's like he can't find the ball. He has no idea what's going. But what a pro! Got to hand it to him, Neil Rule. What a pro! I mean, here I'm sitting here. He's like this, and I'm like this. It's like and and then Saturday comes and Saturday there was this conversation on like, hey, on Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we're going to let you know if we're even going to have this baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 a.m. on Saturday comes. They say, and I called you. I'm like, hey, Nathan, man, you got a flight coming from Grand Rapids. Just an FYI, this game might not happen. You're like, oh, well, let me know. And I'm like, I'll let you know. So I let you know. They're like, Nathan's on his way. So you're on your way in. I get a text message from Corey, our technical director, who's out in the field at Oakland doing all the setup. Or at least getting ready to set up. It's snowing, by the way, here in Michigan while this is all happening.
Yeah.
And it's like 11 o'clock. No one's there to help him. So he couldn't get anywhere. So he's in a holding pattern. And then people start telling him that the game is not going to happen. So here he is at 11:30 when we should have already had cameras up in the positions, basically. He's no cameras are up. So, and then right around noon, they're like, yeah, we're going to play this game. So right around noon, they're like, yeah, we're going to play the game. And so we had a rush mode. Game started Game started. There were no cameras. It was a technical delay situation for it felt like an hour. It was an inning. We missed the entire first inning. Coming in at the top of the second inning, and Nathan Wangler steps in. 10 runs in that game. 10 runs.
A walk-off hit by pitch.
Yeah,
I haven't seen many of those in my career.
Nope. And then we have Sunday. Sunday's much of the same. We get out there and everything is rolling pretty well. I was not supposed to call Sunday. Neil asked me early in the week, he's like, John, can you do Sunday for me? And at the time, I was like, yeah, I can do Sunday. Whatever, dude. Like, not thinking about it. I did not know that Corey was doing the Pistons game on Sunday, and that Will, who was here all week with me doing the games here internally, he couldn't be here. So he was down in Oakland doing Oakland stuff. So here I am yesterday. My wife said I shouldn't talk about this publicly, but I'm going to talk about it. I fully produced the game, and I called it at the same time. So
yeah.
I'm switching the cameras, 4 of them, by the way. All the graphics. Now, I didn't do the ESPN graphics. My daughter, Brianna, she knew how to do that. I did not do replay. That was the one thing I could not do. But I did everything else.
Yep.
Every commercial break, everything I did. So when someone says that's too much, F you. F you. That's all I'm going to say.
What's too much? What do you mean?
I can't do all that. Bullshit. I did it. I called an entire baseball game with like legit no prep and calling the game. Now, granted, that's not my best baseball game. It can't be. I'm literally multitasking at its finest. But I did it. So probably an 80% good broadcast, but I don't care. I did it. So I'm going to give myself a nice pat in the back. I did pull that off yesterday. But that was, and I clocked myself 70 hours in the last 4 days is what I worked. So yeah. I got here this morning at I got home yesterday last night. We walked out of the studio. I went, picked up my daughter, grabbed Red Robin, which by the way, I got to give credit to Red Robin. Their Ghost Heat Wave jalapeno burger is like fire, dude. You gotta give it a go. Anyways, got home. I hit the pillow hard last night. I went to bed, I think, at like 7:45. I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Could not go back to bed. So I got here at 4 a.m. this morning. So couple cups of coffee later, I am rolling. I am ready. It is Monday. Woo!
Ready to get after it.
So it wasn't just a shitty weekend for me, by the way, in the sense of like the stress. Man, talk about Team USA, man. Holy crap. And I saw you, man, on TikTok. I feel like you had a come to Jesus moment this weekend too. Because man, they're terrible.
They're bad.
They're terrible. And
they're
you know,
bad.
watching Alexi Lawless, and he was having a conversation and talking about this, and there's this conversation right now in USA land about whether or not these players want it. Whether they want it or not. What is there to want? Let's talk about that for a second. What is there to want? What if we want something to mean something? Now, do I have any question that players will show up for a World Cup? No, I don't. I do not think for 1 second that these players would like not be like, no, they'll show up for the World Cup. They still won't play great, but they'll show up. Won't be no doubt that they want to be there. But Nations League, Gold Cup, I mean, these are just things we created so that we could get people to go to games more and they mean something. Let's be honest. These are just friendlies. Right. This isn't the Olympics. These are friendlies. So do the players want it? No, they want like 2 weeks off from playing soccer because they've been pushing themselves for like the last 9 months. And they want 2 weeks off, but instead they go play for Team USA in a meaningless, Nations League, whatever you want to call it, that was created so that people can make money. That's what it's all about. And so, yeah, they don't want. Who the hell? What do you want? They're not coming in. They're fittest, and maybe they're fit, but they're all tired. So I don't think for 1 second this is about players wanting it more. Canada has something to prove. They want to go beat the U.S. Why? They have a coach who played for the men's national team and wasn't given the coaching opportunity. So he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. This is going to be like a rivalry game of all rivalry games now. I don't blame Canada for coming out on fire. Do you? I don't. Do you?
No, absolutely not. And they had an opportunity to beat the U.S. for 2 straight times for the first time since 1985. And to be honest with you, I think every country outside of the United States takes pride in beating the United States when they play the United States. Yet we have a collection of guys who, again, think the name on the back is a hell of a lot more important than the name on the front. So
Herb Brooks.
yeah, these yeah, thank you. Good pull. These tournaments were set up for American success. They were set up to showcase America in playing these Central American teams in Mexico and Canada. And for the most part, we've been successful in these tournaments. But I don't, for people to say, and I got a comment on one of those videos like, hey, dude, chill out. It's just the Nations League. If you don't think that's an indication of where we are as a whole and what's going to happen at the World Cup, then I don't know what to tell you. Right? Copa America was an embarrassment. The Nations League was an embarrassment. What scares me is that this is kind of becoming a trend. And it was blatantly obvious last night that we don't know who we have, and we don't know where people should play, and we don't know what we have at our disposal. We just simply don't. And it was you got that feeling late in the game, and even the broadcast crew who was kind of watching and following along, they just kind of roll over and died. Once they gave up that last goal, they just kind of rolled over and died. When the red card was assessed to Canada's sideline, and obviously coach got kicked out of the game. And right in that moment, I was like, okay, this is over, because it's clear to me that this means a hell of a lot more to one end, and for no reason outside of just getting to beat the United States. That's it. That's the only reasoning. That's the only thing that they need to go off of. They want to beat the U.S. and start to kind of establish that dominance, because they have. The last two games, they've beaten us down. So, yeah, I mean, in the long run, and that's what I said yesterday on my reaction to that game, was anything up to the World Cup, in my mind, is an opportunity now for Mauricio Pochettino to figure out what his personnel is and what works. I refuse to believe that we don't have the talent to hang with these countries and beat these countries. I think, number one, we got to figure out who deserves to be on the field and in what spots. I even said this yesterday in one of the videos I did. Like, Diego Luna, to me, was really impressive in the way he handled the ball and the way he set this offense up last night. There were a few times late in that game he nearly got an equalizer off of his improvising. I would love to see Diego Luna on that final roster, 100%. I thought Pulisic looked great. I mean, he just got yanked down a couple of times. Like, there were a few breakaway opportunities he had where Canada was willing to just eat a yellow card because they had to. If they let him get free, it was going to be game over. So I thought Pulisic looked good. But it was just an indication that we don't have the right lineup. We don't have the right group yet. And yeah, I mean, it's not everything winning the Nations League. It's not. But it's pretty embarrassing when you lose back-to-back games like that, and the announcers are right. They're 100% right. He doesn't know what he has. And we thought, maybe by introducing him that, things would turn around, but those last two games almost seem worse than anything I saw during the Greg Berhalter era. So I don't know. Like, there's a lot to unpack there. By the way, just as a little aside, I will say that to your opening remarks, baseball is a different beast when it comes to producing it, for sure. But, I think we kind of experienced that this week. It's one of those games you got to be locked in the whole time because you're going to miss things, because people think it's a slow game, but there's stuff constantly happening. Well,
yeah, in order to make the game not so boring, you have to switch the camera 100 times. So, I mean,
right. But balls and strikes and outs and camera angles, and you got to be diligent. So, but yeah. To your point. But anyways, as we were talking about,
by the way, I did have a center field cam yesterday, so that was a bonus.
Good.
It was
step in the right direction.
But first things first. In order for the United States to do anything, Pulisic can't be good. He's got to be great. And again, when we talk about like the stars, I'm talking about the stars of yesteryear, not the stars of today. Stars of today are different. Does Steph Curry make the players around him better? I would argue probably not.
Yes. Are you kidding me right now? You're just saying stuff just to say stuff, JT? Okay. All right. No, go ahead.
You're right. No, you're right. I misspoke there. It might be the coffee. But so the Pulisic needs to make the players around him better.
Yeah, I agree.
He needs to make them better, right?
Yeah.
Great players make the players around them equally great. He's not great, but they make them better. They make it a better overall product. And we're not seeing that at Pulisic. Pulisic's not able to do that. And to be fair, he's probably not able to do it because he's wearing this stress of having to be the guy that's supposed to do it. Yeah. And it's a psychological component. Right. Players like Michael Jordan had a chip on their shoulder because they were told they couldn't do something for a long time, and then they did it. right? They've had to prove some people wrong. Tom Brady, the same thing, right? Tom Brady had to prove people wrong. Now, he might say, I wasn't proving, I was doing it for myself. But at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. And there's a chip on your shoulder that comes with that, right?
Right.
There's a chip. I mean, look at Russell Wilson. He's one of the shortest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And while you can say he's now where he's at now, but Russell Wilson's a player that elevated his game to prove everyone else wrong, right? And when you have players that are able to do that, they play with this chip on their shoulder, and that psychological aspect of where you are already the best player and you're expected to be the best player. That's why a lot of these players fail. It's a psychological component of it, right? Think about the Ryan Leafs of the world, who were the best quarterback in college football, and they get in the NFL and they're like the worst quarterback ever. They fail. I mean, guy was not only was he bad at being a quarterback, he was bad at stealing cars. I think that's right. So it's like, it's like, so I mean. You look at that and say, well, why is that? It's because I think a lot of these players, now there's obviously exceptions to the rule. There's exceptions where the best players come out and they're the best and they're always the best and they help elevate the players. Look at Patrick Mahomes. Perfect example of that. What does he do? He elevates. But again, he does make the players around him better by the things that he can do. It forces those players to have to be, better at making changes, being versatile in their positions. I mean, if you have a mobile quarterback like Mahomes and get out of pressure, making your post route and just doing that and not making an adjustment on the way, well, you're not going to be successful. So you have to adjust. You have to be able to change your route to the moment. And that's what quarterbacks like Mahomes can do, right? It forces players to have to do things differently. We need Pulisic to do the exact same thing. He needs to play a better style of soccer that allows for the other players in the team to get more involved and become better. And Pulisic's a player where he's going to get a lot of attention. And again, if you're Argentina, this is why I think it's really important for those of you who don't know soccer or think that the U.S. is better than what they are. If you're a team defending, right? Team defending the United States, who are you going for? You're going to go, Gio Reyna, right? You're going to go for Pulisic. You're going to go for players like that who have an impact. You're going to stick a player on them. And when you do that, that's going to force that player to have to do other things in order to be more effective, right? And special players can make special plays. Isn't that stream that says that, by the way? I don't know what's his name. Special teams.
Oh,
special
play. Yeah.
But
teams, special plays, special players.
There you go. Yeah, right. Just like that, right? But
yep.
We're not seeing that. Yeah, he makes special plays. No question. But we need him to elevate the rest of the team. And that's the difference maker, right? That's the difference maker right now. And Pulisic's not doing that. So I'm not saying he can't, but right now, I'm not sure. I think he's in his mid-20s. Right? I'm not sure how old Pulisic is. Maybe someone can Google that and tell me. But what my perspective on this is if we're not getting it now, we're never going to get it. All right, Lionel Messi's been special since the day he was born, and that guy can make everybody around him better, right? And what he does by making them better is giving them these opportunities, right? By finding them and through that seam of that channel, right? Making special passes that then find their way back to him, right? Making these plays. Pulisic's not doing that now. And I don't know how old he is. I think he's doing 26, 23, 24. What is he? 26. There we go. Took a guess. Peter Mazuik hops in with 26 years old. By the way, he did say a whole bunch of other stuff here. Good morning. Good Maniac Monday. Happy Mike Singletary 50th anniversary episode. There it is. It is 50th episode. When push comes to shove, you can do anything. So I want to see more out of Pulisic. And I'm fearful that we're not going to ever see it. I keep going back to this thing, Nathan. We talked about it here previously. The player that comes from nothing, the player that has to work that much harder to get the opportunity, that player who has that chip on their shoulder, we need like 22 of those. And they're out there. We don't need the multi-million-dollar player that mom and dad paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to train over their lifetime. We need the player who's coming from nothing, who understands everything and has everything in the world to prove. Like, that's the player that the United States men's national team needs.
Yeah.
That's what they need. Now, on the flip side of that, on the women's side, keep doing what you're doing. right? Keep doing what you're
Yep.
doing. The girls' game is as strong as it's ever been. Now, granted, does that mean that we're going to win everything? No, it doesn't. But they're already there. So for them, they have to find a way to continue what they're doing and still elevate it. So finding players from nothing in that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. No, take the players you are currently developing, continue to develop them, and have them play at a high level. But the men, I keep saying this.
Pay to
You've
play
got to
in the
literally
US of A.
dismantle
Yeah.
the whole thing and build from scratch. That's where I'm at with this.
Yeah.
Build from scratch. Start grabbing players
Yeah.
out of everywhere, dude. I don't go find me 11 unknowns. I don't care about the name on the back of their jersey. Go find me a bunch of unknown players who are phenomenal, who would be like, it'd be the world to play in front of those fans wearing that jersey. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, think about this for a second. How many of us as kids were like thinking about putting on the jersey and, scoring the winning goal, right, for Team USA or the Detroit Red Wings, right? We were dreaming of that. We were dreaming of that as kids. I'm not saying these guys aren't dreaming of it, Nathan. But man, they sure as hell aren't playing like it.
They're not, though. They're not. Look at other countries, even in other sports. They're in a lot of countries across the world. Playing for your country is the highest honor you can do. You can make it to the NBA, you can make it to the NHL, you can make it to the MLB. It doesn't matter. Why do you think, at least in baseball terms, we talked about baseball, why do you think all these other countries send their best available players to the World Baseball Classic? U.S. doesn't. Why do you think a lot of times in hockey, they'll send their best players, the U.S. doesn't? And not saying that the U.S. didn't send their best players in soccer, but I will tell you there's a lot of other places in the world, they take a hell of a lot more pride in winning on the international level than the U.S. does, specifically in soccer. And we saw that last night. It's the whole structure of it, JT. It's pay for play. And that's everyone. A lot of the comments under these videos are saying the same exact thing. It's not like we don't have the talent to do it. It's the system we have in place right now does not allow for us to have the opportunity to do it. And the word that I kept coming back to, and I hate using this word because people throw this term around way too much. It's really overused, but when you see it and you understand it, you know what it is. This team last night and in the game against Panama really seemed soft. Just Charmin ultra soft. And that's what was so discouraging about it. And it does come back a lot of ways, and it does fall on the shoulders of Christian Pulisic. And I know he has this like piano-sized pressure that he's carrying around all the time. But the problem that I always run into, and it's like that documentary. I don't know if you've had the chance to watch the documentary on Christian Pulisic, but Zoltan Ibrahimovic was actually the first to ever talk about it. And he's actually one of his closer friends when he was playing over in Italy. Talked about how he's just not the personality type to really kind of invite that pressure and to live that way and to really kind of embrace that part of his game. He just doesn't. He's an introvert. He doesn't like the camera on him. He doesn't like the attention. He doesn't like the bravado and having his chest out. Ibrahimovic has no problem with that. That dude is I'm the best soccer player in the world and no one's ever going to touch me. Christian Pulisic is not like that. Well, there's a difference
between being cocky though and whatever.
Well, yeah, but right. But that's part of it. You have to carry yourself a certain way. And it all comes back to, there's no real we say he's the face because he's the best player. On the field, he probably is the best player we have. So we've come to the conclusion, okay, this is Captain America. Well, we need Captain America to embrace the fact that he's Captain America. That's kind of where we are. And I get like that's not his personality type. That's not who he is, but we need a little bit more out of that. And you mentioned like Steph, okay, I might have been a little harsh in my response to that. I do think he makes other people better. I think another example though would be like a Kawhi Leonard. They call him the silent assassin. And when he's on, and he can carry a team and he's won a championship. But when he's not on, everybody else just kind of realizes we have this gaping hole in our lineup because he's he's silent. He's kind of standoffish. He doesn't want to take that pressure onto him. CP10 is amazing talent, but he has no leader. That's kind of what I was saying. Good teams need leaders, and good teams need vocal leaders too. I'm trying to imagine what these like halftime conversations looked like for USA men's soccer, and I know we don't really have access to these things, but what did that look like? Was it just a calm conversation, or was somebody getting up and getting frustrated and going old school on them? I don't think so. I really don't. And so it was soft serve ice cream soft in all regards.
I actually think
all regards
we would do better. We would do better by taking a bunch of players who are just amateurs out there at this point. Like they don't have professional. I just feel like you just take a bunch of amateurs and just put them out on the field and give them a shot. I don't know what. Again, I don't know how much Pochettino actually has as far as like the ability to actually pick players. Maybe he has a lot. I don't know, but I see the same players. Same players.
Yeah. Right.
And I know there's this thing about Matt Turner and his goalkeeping and how he's not playing right at work at all, right?
That was a terrible goal against Panama. But
you know what I mean? And so I know there's this conversation about him. I mean, our starting goalkeeper isn't even starting overseas. I mean, Tim Howard started, right? Casey Keller started where he played, right? I mean, you have all these goalkeepers who, Guzan, right? He starts where he plays. Now, granted, you can argue what their team they're playing for, but I mean, shit, Casey Keller played over in, Brad Friedel played over in the Premier League. They're overseas, right? So I mean, I don't know if that to me that might be something. I don't know. It all depends on how he shows up and plays on the field. Obviously, in training, I mean, this is a goalkeeper who came from nothing. He was not a goalkeeper, right? He self-taught himself how to play goalie, and just to be able to rise the ranks and find a way to the U.S. men's national team is great. Do I think goalkeeping is the thing that's costing us games? No, I mean, you have to go through 10 other players before it gets there, but you want to make sure the person who's standing there, at the last line of defense can actually stop the ball. So I'm not going to say this is on Matt Turner's shoulders.
Yeah.
But I would like to see at this point, blow the whole thing up. It's time to dismantle this thing and start from scratch. What do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose? That's exactly you. Yes, you took the words out of my mouth.
These games. I mean, what do you? I mean, I want to start seeing. I want to start seeing no name whoever's on the pitch. I don't care who they are, where they come from. Doesn't matter to me. No name whoever. Number 12. Cool, great. Go out there and play. See what happens.
Yeah.
See how you play.
Yeah.
And to be fair, that player who would not otherwise get the opportunity to play, well, yes, they might not perform at a high level, but they will give it their all. They will give it their all. They will fight like hell, and they might get their asses kicked. Don't care. I would rather us lose 12-0 fighting hard than losing on a shitty 1-0 goal in the 94th minute. Right? That's what I would like to see. I would rather lose 10 or 12-0. But every player giving it, I mean, just going out there and getting hard tackles, yellow cards, physicality. I would rather lose because at that point, whether you lose by 6 or you lose by 1, it doesn't matter. You still lost. I mean, you have to ask yourself this question. Did you see that yesterday against Canada? Did we as Americans view a team that went out there yesterday and gave it everything they had on that field? And can we ask that question of every game that they've played in over the last 12 months, over the last 2 years? Can we say that? Oh, yeah, it's really easy to get up.
No.
It's really easy to get up and excited for the World Cup. It's easy. How can you not?
Yeah.
How can you not? Great.
Yep.
But in order for you to even be there, you have to have earned it. And you tell me what player on Team USA has earned the right to wear their uniform in the World Cup?
Diego Luna. That was the one I saw yesterday. And the other thing that I brought up, and we've yet to see really what Pochettino can accomplish. They've fallen down the stairs since the last World Cup, since that loss really against the Netherlands. I really think drawing against England was probably the high point of USA soccer in the last collection of years, which is crazy to consider. Ever since that moment, things have not. We haven't just like fallen flat on our face. Like when I say fall down the stairs, that's exactly what it's felt like since that World Cup. And watching Jesse Marsch, that was the other part of last night that kind of infuriated me. He's born in Michigan. And he's out there throwing his arms up, running across the field to get at these referees. Obviously got a red card, got kicked out. Once he's in kind of the bowels of SoFi Stadium, he's running to a TV so he could watch the rest of the game, and then he's up in the suite level watching it. And just how animated he was on the sidelines, that's a coach that I would want to play for. Like, X's and O's and all that stuff aside, give me a coach who is going to fight for my players, who is willing to do something like that, to get kicked out of the game, to give my players a little bit of extra mo so that they can go out and finish the game. And when he got thrown out, that's literally the moment, JT, I'm watching the game and I'm like, okay, it's over. It's over. They care a hell of a lot more than anybody else on our side. Also, U.S. Soccer, why are we hiring someone from Argentina? Jesse Marsch was available for that position, and you're telling me you just skipped over the guy that was born in Michigan? You skipped over the American coach in order to get the guy that might understand how to play the game technically, and he comes from the Argentinian school, and they just won the World Cup. I get some of the theory behind it, but I'm sorry, you're going to go out and get a guy that doesn't uniquely understand the struggle when it comes to the game of soccer in America? You're going to go get a guy that grew up in a soccer culture in Argentina where everybody plays it, and it's everything in that society and in that culture. I struggle to find reasoning in how you can implement, and that's not to say he hasn't done it at the highest level, and he was a player himself once upon a time. That's all fine and dandy. Why would you not get someone who can uniquely relate to the struggle that we're facing right now? And that maybe has a better understanding of how to get through to American players. That is so unfathomable to me. Pochettino has not been good. And again, a lot of it has to do with, I don't think he understands his personnel. I don't think it's about player identification. I think people do that for him. He's just doing what he can with what he's provided, right? And he's trying to squeeze all the toothpaste out of the tube, but right now none of it's coming out, right? He got one goal in the final two games against Canada and Panama. It wasn't working. And the way we were watching them playing was not working. And I remember once Jesse Marsch got thrown out of that game, they cut to Mauricio Pochettino, and he's just sitting, just legs crossed on the bench, just watching. You can teach me all the technical stuff. You can teach me all of the X's and O's, but unless you're an emotional coach that's going to get your guys ready to go play for your country specifically, you're not going to win a whole lot of games at the international level. And it's funny because someone dropped a comment, especially after my after I posted that video about the loss to Panama. Someone actually commented underneath, and I thought it was a little bit of rage bait at first, but then I thought about it later, and I'm like, he might have a point. But he goes, in football, soccer, stats don't matter. And I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason why we track stats. They matter. They tell you the story of the game. And what it told me in that Panama game was that they controlled it from beginning to end, right? They had more pressure. They had more shots on target. They had longer time of possession. They were working the ball better. But he goes, the most important thing is how many goals do you get at the end of the game? And that's what Panama did. They did everything they could to weather the storm defensively. They struck late, and then we rolled over and we died. And the truth is, and I don't know if Mauricio Pochettino would do this, and I'm actually getting some comments on TikTok Live right now. Travel Together 101 says people forget the horrible management decisions he made in the UCL final. He had a lot of talent with the Spurs. Not winning silverware with that team was crazy. Yeah, I mean, he's had some bad history, but the other thing that you're always looking for billboard material or poster board material, if you will. If you're a head coach, I know you were, JT. What do I do to try and cultivate that us against the world mentality? Which literally, when it comes to U.S. men's soccer, that's what it is, because the world revels in the fact that we suck. They love it. They love every little bit of it. And I think more than half of the people that liked that video on our TikTok were actually people who are actually happy the U.S. didn't lose. They were actually happier to see me losing my mind than they were to actually agree to anything I said. As a head coach, you got to find a way to get that extra little bit out of your guys, because it does X's and O's. Again, it matters, but everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, and then all of a sudden plans kind of go out the door. Now you have to improvise. Now you have to create. If Mauricio Pochettino did not take that snapshot of Panama celebrating right next to Clint Dempsey after they scored that goal. Literally the entire team running over to the broadcast table and almost like knocking him off the broadcast table just to get their point across about how, we're better than you, and we have been the last 3 times we played. If he doesn't take a picture of that and hang it up in the locker room and go, this is what the world thinks of you. This is what Central America thinks of you. This is what Mexico thinks of you. This is what Europe thinks of you. All of you rich, spoiled, whatever word you want to put in after those two. All of you. This is what the world thinks of you. They laugh at you when you wear that U.S. men's soccer uniform. They laugh. Is that they think it's a joke. And they look around at the stadium, the SoFi Stadium that's not even half full, and they go, this is what U.S. soccer is. And so you have a decision to make right now. Either you want to play for the name on the front. I don't care if you want to play tired, play hurt, play any of that other stuff. I don't give a damn. If you want to play for the U.S. men's soccer team, show it. If you want to be a laughingstock, that's fine. We're already there. And if you don't, fine. Go back and play for your club. Go play wherever you want to play. But something tells me he's just not that type of personality. And that's the whole thing. We have a team full of pacifists, and we have a coach that might be the exact same way. So we have to lower our expectations, JT. And you said it perfectly well to start the show. Let's throw out a bunch of amateurs. Let's have our expectations on the floor. Let's not talk about World Cup. Let's not even talk about advancing out of the group stage quite yet, because I don't think we've earned that part of the conversation. Let's just throw whoever out there. If you want to play for the U.S. men's national team and you're one of the high amateur guys in this country, fine, let's go. Let's do it. That's the only thing in my mind. I think we're soft. I think we're Charmin ultra soft serve right now, and I don't know what it is that we need to do to fix it.
First off, isn't a soft serve like ice cream? So when you say soft serve, does that imply it's
soft serve ice cream? Yes. I like the twist personally, the half and half.
Fair enough.
I know people will go one way or the other.
I like dipping that the in the chocolate, right? And then that's cool. But
I worked at McDonald's, man. I can make some massive ones.
Nice.
I learned how to make some mean soft serve.
Nice. Well, I mean, so here, I mean, a lot to
hold on really quick. Travel Together asks, where can I hear the full podcast? Go to the National Soccer Network. It is our YouTube page, 9 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. Click on the link. We will be up here. If there's any sort of interruption there, we will let you know. But that's where you can view it. Anyways, go ahead, JT.
A lot to unwrap there. I think that let's go back to the hire, right? In America, we're all about like the name, right? Jurgen Klinsmann, sexy name, right? German national, had success, right? Yeah, and I don't mean it like it's. Oh my gosh,
it's a sexy name though too,
right? I mean,
Jurgen.
Jurgen, right? I mean, Pochettino. I mean, again, it's another player coach. It's a sexy thing, right? Had success over in Europe, right? Argentina, all these things that make him it's, oh my gosh, like it's like anything. It's almost kind of reminds me of like every year. Like I think they do it in the fall and the spring, but like these TV networks, like they call the ad meetings, whatever, where they bring out all the shows on stage and all the advertisers are there and they're all like, oh yeah, this is the new lineup of shows, and it's like, like, how much you want to, it's like they're like kind of welcoming everybody in to spend some money, right? It's almost like we're doing that with this. You're like, oh, let's go bring a coach in that's going to sell tickets, right? It's going to bring in more people who, well, he understands the game. He understands the game. Yeah, clearly he understands the game. I don't need someone who understands the game.
No.
We don't need that.
No.
You want to know why? It's 2025. Everybody understands the game.
Yeah.
If you're at that level, everybody understands the game. They know the X's and O's. It's not like this is rocket science. You take the ball, you pass it around. You do that to create some deception. You go put the ball in the back of the net. This is not a rocket science.
Yeah.
This is not complicated.
Yeah.
So I don't need an X's and O's guy. I need someone who can take a bunch of 22-year-old, whatever, rich kids, combination of rich / chip on your shoulder, get them to come together in a short amount of time and go out on the pitch and have success. That is not being done. Not being done. And again, I don't care about the politics. I don't. The politics mean nothing to me. They mean nothing to me. If the goal is to win, who the hell cares about all the politics? Jesse Marsh should 100% be the coach right now of Team USA.
Yes.
100%.
And you created a monster by not hiring
100%.
him.
And
yes,
again, the laughing stock of CONCACAF. I agree with that. And I know Peter says we have to hit rock bottom first. I would argue that not making it to the World Cup and not qualifying
that should have been
2018.
That should have been.
That should have been rock bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
So us losing to Canada and Panama in the Nations League is not rock bottom. It just shows you that if we can't win those on the smallest of stages, why can't? Well, of course we can't win the big ones.
Right.
I look back to my youth days, and I think even anyone who's a part of this organization, whether that be Dan or anyone who's ever played sports, can tell you this. In your conference on the west side of Michigan, when you played football, in order for you to get to the state championships, you had to beat a bunch of teams, win probably your league, your conference, got to get over a threshold, and then you get in the playoffs, right? And so every team in Michigan in football makes the playoffs. You have to hit a number. It could be 6, it could be 5. It's a moving target every year. It changes. Right. In soccer, we didn't have to do that. It didn't matter if you won one game or you won them all. You all made the playoffs. But every tournament, no matter what it was, depending on the team, we would go out to that tournament and we would know that we would win it. So we'd go out there and we battle and go win the tournament. Now, there are certain tournaments you didn't know you had a chance or not because you didn't know the teams, didn't know players. But the tournaments we went to, we were winning them. And we were doing so decisively, going through group play, winning your games by a combined 18-0, right? Getting into a semifinal, winning that maybe 2 or 3 out of, and then getting into a final. It was an expectation that we were going to make it to a final. That was the expectation. We don't have that expectation for Team USA. Oh, with CONCACAF, yeah, we're going to make – yeah, you are the best team in CONCACAF. We've already established that the Team USA is arguably, based on everything we know on paper, is arguably the best team in CONCACAF. Now, they don't play that way, but they are arguably the best team in CONCACAF. Again, they're 16th in the world. I don't know if there's another team that's ranked higher than them. Now, granted, this probably changed after this weekend, so I'm not going to go off of that. But name another team that's ranked higher. And I don't have the FIFA CONCACAF or the FIFA rankings in front of me, but I don't think there's another team in CONCACAF that's ranked higher than them.
Right.
So, again, if the goal is to win a World Cup, we are so far away from that today than we've ever been. And again, we have not qualified for a World Cup. So if we had to qualify this year, we'd be screwed.
We'd be done. Yeah.
We'd be screwed.
Yep.
There's not a player on this team that makes people go, man, oh my gosh, I'm scared to play that. And again, I look at it from the standpoint of if you're another player in another country coming in to take on Team USA, who are you scared of? Who makes you go, oh my gosh, I don't want to face them?
No. You're ready to play a bunch of schoolboys. And the thing is, I heard this said too, like, and I was kind of waiting for this comment a little bit. Someone said, well, you got to be patient. I don't buy patience nearly as much anymore. When I know that it's patience for what? What are we being patient about? What is the timeline? What are we waiting for? No, I think it's the people who are making the decisions as to who to put where that are getting it wrong. It's not that we don't have the right crop of talent. It's not that it's that we don't have the right group. We don't have the right coach. The people who are making those choices. Well, what are we being patient about? My patience is not with, I'd be patient with the players. My patience that it's running out is patience with the people who make the decisions. That's where my patience is running out.
I want to ask that question right back to the player, the person who asked this question. Where's our patience, right? This question I have right back to that person.
Where's
this is
patience?
Important. All right. Every year a new iPhone comes out. Every year new phone comes out, right? New TV, new whatever. You patient when that thing's, as getting ready to be shipped out? You patient? You patiently waiting for that thing to show up? No, you're freaking probably have anxiety up the wazoo because you want the brand new phone with the new this and the new that, right? But patience. No, man. What are we being patient for? This program
2018 was 7 years ago, by the way. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I don't. This doesn't make any sense. Being patient. No, the time for patience is over with. We don't. You have to act. Today is a new day for Team USA because you have to literally dismantle the whole thing. I would argue you got to fire the head coach, get rid of it, and move on. Let's go.
Right.
That might be a completely, asinine outlook, but go get another coach.
Burn it down. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. This doesn't make any sense. Being patient for what?
Patient
The
for
World
what?
Cup is in 2026. We're talking about what?
Right.
15 months, 14
Right.
months.
Right.
Patience for what?
Yeah.
This is about the biggest tournament. They're calling the FIFA World Cup the biggest World Cup in the history of the world. And we're about to show up and get our asses kicked.
We're about to put racing stripes on a minivan and call it a Ferrari. That's what USA men's soccer
we're gonna
is.
We're gonna A-team this thing, man. Little MacGyver, little duct tape, and put this thing together. Being patient. No.
Yeah. No, I don't buy that anymore. Sorry.
Patience.
Sorry. Years ago, when a lot of this stuff was in a lot of these development leagues were just starting up, the game of soccer has come a long way in the United States. So I don't buy the patience line anymore. I'm sorry. I don't buy the patience line anymore. And it all circles back to what we've been talking about on this show. I just want to see something out of them, JT. And here's the thing: if like a yellow, some pushing and shoving, some vocal stuff, I want to see it. I want to see it. Because sometimes there are coaches that are like, hey, a foul, a penalty, if you're standing up for one of your guys, if you're trying to get the juices flowing out there, a lot of coaches be like, I'm willing to eat that. Fine. Go ahead. I didn't see any of that.
Playoffs.
In playoffs.
Patience.
Yeah, playoffs.
I want to hear Coach Morris say that, man. Patience.
Yeah. So there's no more room for me to accept that excuse anymore. And listen, I know the rest of the world is ahead of us, but there's just I'm sorry. I'm not going to take that anymore.
Put that in perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Canada is ahead of us right now in soccer.
Yeah.
Put that in perspective.
Yeah.
And also think about this, right? You want patience? Fine. Go to a hospital.
A lot of patience there.
That's where they're going to be. That's what the patience should be. Not in this conversation. No, patience can be in a hospital. We don't have more time for patience. The time is now. Wake up, America. Wake up.
And you think we're being hysterical because we're media members, and I get it. Listen, part of our job is to get you involved in the conversation, right? If I went on TikTok to respond to that Panama game and I was just like, oh well, it is what it is. 5-second video, post it. No one would have cared. But the passion is the part that people love. And believe me, I am reflective of a lot of fans in the United States right now. And the thing is, like, if we want to talk about attendance at SoFi Stadium, like, come on, y'all. Like, we're on the West Coast. The U.S. is not going to be the main draw. Let's all admit to ourselves that that's the case. Okay, I remember being down in Southern Texas, and I remember a lot of the people who ran, athletic departments and sports information down there all said the same thing. The biggest event in this part of the United States is when Mexico plays the United States in soccer. All the bars fill up, all the places fill up, restaurants, and they're all wearing that Mexico green. They all are. Okay, that's what we're dealing with in certain parts of the country, because that's what it is, and that's not a bad thing, because we're the melting pot. That's what the United States is. We have people from all over the world, so I don't think it's necessarily a terrible thing. You have to know that in certain stadiums we're not going to sell well. Now, if these games were in Columbus or Cincinnati, it's a little bit of a different story. Obviously, weather-wise, it's not really possible with where we are right now. We're kind of obviously going through that transition, getting into spring and everything. So I don't know if I necessarily acknowledge that. There are a lot of loyal soccer fans across the United States who want to see this get better. And that's what this podcast is. It's a sounding board for the people who are watching this garbage and were subjected to watching this garbage last week, because that's what it was. It was garbage. I don't know why I spent 90 plus minutes of my own time watching what I thought in a lot of ways was the inevitable with this team.
184 minutes to be exact.
Well, thank you. Yes, good math. I actually got that
commercials
wrong,
and whatnot. Yeah, but
commercials.
It's okay, man.
Hey,
hey, we could beat this, to death. I don't have an interest in doing that. We could analyze this all day long, and maybe we are off our rocker. Maybe we're all, you're looking at this in the wrong light. Okay, fine. I'd love to know what the outcome would be moving forward. What the solution is, because again, we can talk about this until hell freezes. We have 15 months, 14 months before the World Cup, and this is the team that you rolled out there last 2 games, and they're fighting for a trophy, and they didn't hoist it, because a better team beat them. That's the important part of this, people. They didn't lose to a better team. They didn't get outplayed and outmatched, right? In a lot of these cases, they actually played better than the other team.
Yeah.
Right? They outpossessed, outshot, had better opportunities. Mm-hmm. Nothing to show for it. So, yeah, if you want, the argument is that they're so close. They're so close. But the difference, again, we talk about this, the difference between winning and losing can be inches. But those inches are the hardest ones to overcome. And right now, the inches really matter for this team. And they need to figure out a way. But hey, that's episode 50, man. 50 is in the books, Mr. Wangler. 50 is in the books. We are happy that you have been along for the ride for this many episodes. It comes to an end here today. We're ending at 50.
We're done.
And wasted 2 hours of my life watching it. So, it's true. We had a good run. No, I'm just kidding. We'll be back here tomorrow morning, same time, same place. If you like what you're listening to and what you're watching, make sure you subscribe, like us, and share it with your friends and family. If you want the latest news here in regards to soccer across this country, don't just go anywhere. Go to nationalsoccernetwork.com. And if you want to watch more soccer games, go to YouTube. Watch all the games that are going on here this week, this weekend, and on our Roku TV. But for the rest of us here, I'm Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wangler. We appreciate you stopping by here today. Be back here tomorrow, episode 51, right here on Inside the Game. This has been a presentation of the National Soccer Network.